As you know, I have to wait at least a half a minute before I actually get serious on saying anything, just to make sure that the live stream is working. So I'm just going to hold off for just a minute here until I see possibly a couple numbers on the viewers icons here. And if I don't see any by the time a minute passes, I'll just go ahead and get started. How does that sound? Okay. All right. This time of the day on a Wednesday, probably wouldn't see many people watching this anyway. Okay, I'll go ahead and get started. I got today, by the way, is the it's Wednesday, midday now, and I'm out on a walk, and I've been thinking about a post that I saw from Montagraph about the New World Flood. There we go. Now it looks like we're up and running. Now, I can't see the chat. It's too bright out here, so you'll have to forgive me. I'm not going to be able to read that. Okay, so yeah, today is the 5th of June, 2024, and it's Wednesday. And I saw this post on X from Montagraph about the New World Flood, and he also had another post on some numbers that are kind of interesting, but I'm not going to talk about the numbers right now. At any rate, uh, the point is he had a map of the electoral uh, situation in the United States coming up in this election coming up in November, and he made the statement. He said, and this is a really weird post, ladies and gentlemen. You'll have to forgive me, but I'm responding like this because I want Montagraph to get my immediate thoughts on the issue. So he posted the electoral map, and basically what it shows is that the blue states are certainly along the shorelines, the coastlines of the United States, and then the red areas are internal. And then he said, "How does this compare to the New World Flood map?" And I went, "You mean the New World Flood map of, how if the oceans rise, where the land will be flooded? Is that what you're talking about?" So I went and I looked it up, and apparently, now Monograph is a seer of sorts. I'm not criticizing that. I know for a fact that people have that ability, that gift, and he apparently is one of them. But I pulled up the map of the New World Flood, and it was predicted by Edgar Cayce for one, but it also goes along with some other things about where flooding would occur, if certain things happened. And I'll be doggone if the New World Flood map of flooding with water around the United States doesn't almost exactly correlate with the electoral vote map for 2024. He's on to something here, and then I thought, that's pretty amazing, and then it brought to mind some other things, and that's really where I'm going with this. However you feel about these studies of the occult and these studies of numerology and seership and all of that, remember that the powers that be are very much into that, very much into that. That they almost live their lives by it. We saw that, for instance, in this recent painting of King Charles. It's just as an example. But at any rate, so I got to thinking about it, and there's a little bit of wind here today, so if it's bothering the microphone, I apologize. And I know it's been a while since I've been on, and there are reasons for that. I'm getting so I don't feel much inclined to do this anymore. Very rare circumstances, and this is one of them. So again, I can't see the chat, and I'm very sorry. It's too bright out here. So I was thinking about it, and then I got to thinking back in my Hebrew studies and my Kabbalah studies, and people say, Kabbalah, well, you all know I study that. Doesn't mean I'm a black Kabbalist. Kabbalah had some worthwhile things to it before it got corrupted. I'm talking about the really old meditation form of Kabbalah back prior to the destruction of the Second Temple, 70 AD. It was actually called Heckalot. But at any rate, I've talked about that before. So don't turn this off just because I mentioned Kabbalah. So In my studies there, I had a couple of teachers, one a rabbi, one what I call a sage, and we often talked about this concept of the flood, Noah's flood. Now, I'm going to step on some biblical followers' toes here, but just hear me out. Many things in the Bible are, they have symbolism. I've often talked about sometimes when it's talking about a tree, it's actually talking about a man, okay? I had a situation the other day where somebody asked about why there's so much depravity in the state of Israel, and I made the point, and I hope this doesn't get me thrown off, but I have to do it because it goes to my point that I'm going to make. Um, there's a commandment that says that a man shall not lie with a man as he lies with a woman, right? And there's some consequences for that in that piece. Well, the way they get around that for some of this behavior that they do, and this is just an example, they get very, very specific about what the word man means. And a boy doesn't become a man until his bar mitzvah. And it doesn't include girls, all right, prior to the age of their bat mitzvah. So, in some of the Talmudic literature and also in some of the other commentaries, they justify some of that behavior if you're reading between the lines. So, they're very specific on their use of language to get around certain problems. And there's a lot of other examples of that. I just gave you one example also of using the word tree, which really has to do with a man, okay, just as another example. Well, back when I was studying this thing on the flood, because we all think there was actually a flood that went around the whole world, and there are academic arguments and philosophical arguments and theological arguments as whether it covered the whole world, Noah's flood, or whether it was just local there in Mesopotamia or wherever. And I'm not going to get into that. I'm not that good of an archaeologist or a geologist. All I'll say is what we talked about, and we talked about the fact that in these biblical passages in particular, again, we're seeing symbolism. That flood didn't mean actually a flood of water in the normal sense. Hold on to your seat. Now, this again, I was getting from rabbis and from some old sages who studied this stuff. They said that the flood meant a flood of human beings, a huge number of human beings. However you want to look at that, I'm drawing on this from a number of other sources, but I'm just telling you what it is. You can go from here if you like. This is going to, like I said, set off a lot of people. They're going to say, no, absolutely not. That's not what it is. Well, yeah, a flood of human beings was what the Noah's flood was, according to these sages, okay, and these rabbis. In the esoteric sense, okay, so that would make a lot of sense in that the flood, Noah had to escape this flood of these people that were coming, and so he withdrew, a lot like Abraham withdrew from Sumer, and that's really what it's about. And then you say, well, what about the destruction of all the life? Well, this is allegorical in a lot of ways, apparently, because we do know, for instance, that the seed of the Nephilim survived through the flood somehow, whether they came back or whatever, at least according to the story, okay? Now, so looking at that attitude of what that concept of what a flood can be, and we are 90% or more of water, right? But a flood of humanity just means a lot of people. We saw something very similar to that in the Arabic community here lately. The attack on Israel by Hamas. They called it the Al-Aqsa flood. So this concept of a flood does have a tendency to mean something sudden and a lot of human beings involved in doing it. In other words, a blitzkrieg almost kind of a concept. So we see that now in this modern time of this Al-Aqsa flood military campaign from Gaza into southern Israel. So there's another example of that may really be the case. that the flood can have that kind of an idea. Okay, so now we take it to the next step, and Monty, I'm going to send this to you, okay? So you'll get this here shortly after I get it up. So now we have this situation with the New World Flood. And now I'm giving what you had there even a lot more credence, because it looks like with the situation that we're seeing with this leftist Marxist, for lack of a better term, taking over of especially the coastal areas of the United States, and some inland ones too, but mostly coastal and border states of these leftist groups. And of course, the large amount of people coming in from the southern border, in a flood as well, going to a lot of these same places. So what have we got? We do seem to have a correlation between what the New World Order is trying to do to the United States, divide us up, conquer us, and the idea of the New World Flood, of water flowing into the United States and taking over these coastal and these border areas and some internal areas as well. So one of the people that I answered that question to about the depravity of Israel, they wanted some more information about some of these things, that the way words are used to justify or to explain certain things in an esoteric manner, which can actually be for real. And so this is for him as well, or her, whoever it was that sent me that request. I think it was Emergency Exit, or Mr. Schul. It may have been Mr. Schul, I suppose. So this is just another example of one of those, or I could give you a lot more, but I just thought I'd bring this up real quick, talk about Monty's situation. If you have X, go to October Rains there, or Montagraph, or you could probably go to his YouTube channel, Montagraph, and look at what he's talking about. I haven't seen him actually post. I haven't gone to his channel to see if he has the New World Flood map up, along with the electoral map. But yeah, there are a lot of correlations. And I think at this point, knowing how these people use codes, how they use metaphors, allegories, to transfer information amongst themselves, and to tell us what they're going to do, but not tell us at the same time because they're talking in their own language. I think we're seeing this situation apply. The New World Flood of the seer, talking about the flooding of America with water, especially on the coastal areas and low-lying areas, and the idea of the flood of this, for lack of a better term, this liberty contrarian viewpoint taking over the country, and along with the literal flood coming over the border, it is all connected. So I thought I'd just bring that up real quick. Take it or leave it, use it how you want. I don't know when I'll be up again. Like I said, I'll be honest, just getting on the idea of why I'm not doing much, and I'm even going to start cutting back on X some more. As I've said, my voice is so small that even when I have something that I know is important, I've been out there in the world. I've traveled the world. I've been in places with the military and other things where I've rubbed elbows with some pretty significant people. I've seen things. I've taken part in things. I've seen how things operate, and then I have my education and all that to go along with it. And I see these discussions, and I'm not going to name names, but I see these discussions on different things. And people ask me about it, or I might feel inclined to comment. And I don't mean to sound like I'm upset that people are ignoring me, but really, if they're not going to if they're not going to at least respond to what I explain to them, and some of these people are fairly well known, if they're not even going to respond and ask me why I say what I say, what's the point? What's the point? I will say this much as an example. I have a lot of respect for Wyoming Representative Hageman. A lot. She's done a lot of great things. But she's also done something just today, or maybe it was yesterday, I think it was today, where she came out in favor of what's happening in Israel, as far as what Israel's doing. I have sent her, and I've sent Senator Mike Lee, I've sent Glenn Beck, I've sent Governor Ron DeSantis, I've sent represented, but just a lot of people, a lot of information about what these things mean and what they really are. For instance, the meaning of the Hebrew, the underlying meaning of the letters, and I don't get complicated with them. I just tell them, hey, look, like this situation I started with earlier on the man thing, right? Or the situation that we could talk about with the beasts of the field and the elimination of Amalek and what all that means. These people just ignore it. And then just a few days ago, there was some information on the Hebrew Gospel of Matthew. Well, and I put this information up on X. If you want to go see my X account, don't tell me, well, I'm not going to get X. Okay, fine then, because I'm not gonna put all this stuff on YouTube anymore either. Just occasionally, unless I get some indication I have to do it. But anyway, so this was written by Michael Howard, and he takes basically apparently the idea, the manuscript of one of the Kabbalists of the 14th century, Baal Shem Tov, who I'm well aware of, obviously, and who seems to be reading from a Hebrew copy of Matthew. Well, there's some problems with that, and I explain why. Dr. Tabor gives Michael Howard some kudos for what he did, and I'm not saying that taking the Greek and then going back into the Hebrew and retranslating it into the Hebrew can't give you some insight, but you got to be careful about what words you pick because you're not really using the originals. And that was the thing about this thing with Baal Shem Tov, and then there were some quotes from Epiphanius and Irenaeus about apparently some original Hebrew texts that they were able to look at. And I'm aware of all this stuff. I studied all this. But I don't have a whole lot of faith that those New Testament, as a matter of fact, I have none, that the New Testament books were originally written in Hebrew. I just don't see that. There are some textual similarities to the way Hebrew is constructed and all that, but that's understandable. I mean, if any of you speak Spanish, for instance, as well as English, and you're translating from Spanish to English or English to Spanish, you're going to have your bias of your native language come through to some extent. But anyway, that's a whole nother issue. My point is that I added to the discussion, and the particular PhD that I really wanted to see that, who I've had a couple of DMs with, actually only one, on a similar thing where this PhD was asking about contacting Dr. Robert Eisenman of Dead Sea Scrolls fame, one of my mentors. No response, no response at all, and I think I know why. Again. And I'm not crying about it. It's just, it's interesting that this is the way it goes. The first thing they do is Google you, where they find out that, people attacked your military career, trying to say that you weren't military and all that kind of stuff, trying to delegitimize you. So they turn off their ears and they shut their eyes. So that's why I say I don't know that it's worth me doing this anymore. There are a few out there, you folks who I appreciate, who come and we have some discussion. And as I've said, I'm not 100% right. I've never claimed to be 100% right, but I have a experience and viewpoint that is not often discussed in the world, and it's not so far out in left field that it doesn't make sense. And of course, that'd be my viewpoint because it's mine, right? It's the way I say it. But my point is, if they're not willing to recognize these people, that includes the representatives, the senators, the people like Glenn Beck, et cetera, et cetera. If they don't have, and I realize they get probably tons of X messages and all of that. I understand that. But they also have people that do this for them, and they can tell who's talking and knowing what they're talking about and those who aren't. I'm not a lightweight in that regard. But truth sometimes, even though it cuts it its own way, is not appreciated by those who go with the status quo. And I've never been one to go with the status quo. They have to prove to me that what they're saying is worthwhile and has efficacious application in my own situation and for those that I love and care for. All right, that's all I got for you. I just thought I'd do this. Monty, I'll send this to you if you're not watching this live. I think there is a correlation on this idea of flood and it being human beings, lots and lots of human beings. Okay, I do believe that's what it is. All right, everybody, I'm going to go. I know it's been a long time. It'll probably be a long time before I do another one of these. Like I said, I don't see the benefit. It's not changing the world. Put it that way. There's that story. George Bruno talks about it. He gives a story about a man who's on a seashore, and there are all these starfish that have been washed up on the beach, and he's out there, and there are thousands of them, and he's picking them up and he's throwing them back in the ocean, and somebody comes along and says, you're not doing anything. Look how many of them are out here on the beach drying up. You're not going to make an impact. And he throws one into the ocean again. He says, made a difference for that one. And there's truth to that. But, unrequited responses, unrequited interchange, I should say, you finally get tired of talking. You finally get tired and say, what the hell's the use? Let them go down to the fiery pit if that's what they want, because that's where we're headed. All right, everybody, keep your eyes on the horizon, ears to the ground, situational awareness on high. Keep prepping, praying, and staying out of the way. Things are going to get bad. Look what they're doing. I think everybody knows I don't care a least bit for Trump, but by the same time, I see what they're doing. And again, he could be playing the part of the suffering servant, the whole drama of Isaiah 52, 53. I understand that. But still, the people that are conducting this are showing how bad they are, how they're willing to convolute the law, corrupt it to hurt people. And of course, they've done it to a lot already, and I don't think they're done. So be careful out there, okay? All right, I'm going to go. Y'all take care. We'll see you later.